Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I'm going to show you how to fix a harsh electric guitar. We're going to be talking about electric guitar tone today, but before we dive in, if you're ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process and really hone your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 7-step mixing checklist. It's a simple PDF that will guide you through the entire mixing process, step by step, to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without the hassle and without the guesswork. It is completely free, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and take a look at this guitar. Now there's a multitude of reasons that your electric guitar tone could be too harsh. It could be just your tone in general, just the way you're playing. Sometimes when guitarists flip from a really heavy distorted sound to a clean sound, sometimes they don't adjust their treble or bass correctly, so they have too much top end and their clean sound ends up being too pokey or too harsh. That's what we had here. The tone wasn't adjusted correctly on the guitar when we jumped to record the clean part. It could be the way you mic the guitar amp, if you're too close, if you're too on the cone, if you're not off balance. It could be you're using the wrong mic, maybe you're using a condenser, getting too much top end. Multitude of reasons. The easiest way to fix it is in the moment. If you listen, if it's too harsh, go back, fix your tone, and re-record it at the source. Don't try to mess with it in the mix later. You'll give yourself an uphill battle. But if you get sent tracks and there are guitars that are too harsh, today we're going to talk about how to fix it. So let me play you the guitar, how it sounds finished, and then I'll take off all the processing. You can hear what we started with, okay? So we're looking at this clean guitar right here. It's pan to the left, so I'm going to flip into mono here. Take a listen to the guitar, and then I will take off the processing. You can hear what we started with. So you can hear the tone's a little bit pokey, a little bit harsh, and it's got a little bit too much edge up on top. That's going to hurt the listener's ears, especially pan to the left like this. It will cut straight through the mix. You'll hear it over the electric guitars. You'll probably hear it over the vocal. It's not something you want testing your listener's ears. Let me show you how we fix this. So we're starting with a multiband, okay? The reason being is we don't want to try and pull these frequencies out because then we're going to neuter the guitar tone. Let me pull in an EQ here and show you what I'm talking about. Take a look right here. So high mids, top end on our guitar. Take a look at the frequency spectrum. You can see the aggressiveness, you can see that edginess right here around 2 and 3K, going up till 4K here. We don't want to just pull those frequencies out because then when it's not edgy, when it's not poking out, then we're ruining our guitar tone, right? Then we're not going to have that nice high mid area that helps our guitar be present in the mix and be competitive. That's why we're using our multiband. Let me show you what happens if I do just pull these frequencies out. So I've pulled those frequencies out, but now our guitar tone's a little bit too dark because those frequencies aren't there when it's not poking out, right? You can see them jump up when it gets too much, but when it's not too much, they sound good. It sounds nice. So that's why we're not just putting in an EQ and just pulling those frequencies out. We're going to use a multiband here. Actually, on my de-esser setting, I've just pulled it back to about 1.5K. So we're just compressing 1.5K and above. So we're just pulling these back, just holding them down when they get too much. So you can see here, we're just using our high band. It's set at 1.64K. We got our ratio at 20:1, so sitting at like a brick wall limiter, so it's not going to let anything past our threshold here. Fastest attack, fastest release, and you can see our reduction up here on the reduction meter. So the advantage of the multiband like this is we can kind of pull this top band down till our guitar levels out across the frequency spectrum. That'll give us a nice clean frequency spectrum to work with when we EQ and when we compress after this multiband. So it gives us a better starting point than what we had before with this kind of edgy, harsh guitar. One more time, with and without the multiband. So I'm going a little bit darker than I probably need to, but I always like to err on the darker side and then boost top end back rather than having too much top end and having to try to control it. That's always something I've embraced even when recording. I always shoot for a little bit of a darker tone on the way in because I can always boost up top end if I need more top end, but it's usually a harder battle to reduce top end if you have too much, if it's harsh or if it's pokey like that. Something to keep in mind when you're recording guitars there. So we've got our multiband in, controlling our harshness. Now we're going to throw our EQ on. So see, now we can boost up that area and bring it back to where we want it. Now, another thing we're doing here is we're using the filtering up on the top. We're using a low pass filter to make sure there's nothing above about 8K here. On electric guitars, you're usually not going to get much above about 7 or 8K, so we don't need anything up there. And I have a boost here sitting around 5K. I don't want that to go up too far because we don't need to be boosting the super top end, because then we'll bring some of that pokiness back in. Emphasizing the mid-range a little bit, so under where our multiband was, and then pulling up some of the low mids to give the guitar a little bit more weight, so it's a little bit more even and a little bit more rounded frequency-wise. Last thing we're adding here is a compressor. What the compressor is going to do is help with the pokiness a little bit. This FET style compressor or 1176 style compressor can be very fast, so it's going to help cut off those initial transients of this guitar to smooth it out a little bit so it's not so pokey and it's not so harsh or unpleasing or unpleasant to the ear. Take a listen, we'll do a before and then I'll kick it in. You can hear how it kind of ducks down the initial transient on our guitar so it doesn't poke out so much. Smooths it out, rounds it out, and keeps it a little bit more even across the board so we don't have these spikes poking out and hurting the listener's ears. Quick review here of everything we did. So we'll start with out. So first thing we're going to kick in is our multiband, so controlling that high mid area where it is getting too harsh, where it's getting too edgy. Then EQing, so then we can boost up that area to get it to sit where we want to, boost some low mids, boost some mid-range, round out our guitar tone. Then we're putting in our fat channel, which is our compressor, to smooth out those peaks and make our guitar tone more even, our guitar volume more even as well. Here we go. So there we go, 3 steps here, 3 plugins to help you ease a harsh guitar tone or an edgy guitar tone like this. And remember, something to keep in mind is maybe you want to err on the darker side with your guitar tone and then add that top end back in, rather than having too much top end to begin with or going too far with your tone and then having to battle it in the mix here. It's something to do with your multiband as well. If you're trying to control top end, maybe go a little bit too far, pull it back a little bit too much, and then use your EQ to bring it in back after. That way you're bringing the entire top end up, because you can't bring up just what you want with the EQ, right? It's going to bring up that entire frequency spectrum, that entire area that you boost under. Okay? I hope that was helpful for you. Like I said, if you're ready to take your mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your workflow, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.